I don't think of the opposite of poverty as wealth. I think of the opposite of poverty as freedom.
Hi, I'm Meg Heritage, and welcome back to my podcast, Positivity in Practice, where we interview local leaders and people who are doing positive things. Today, we have my good friend, Josh Bytwerk. He is running the executive director of Love in Action of the Tri-Cities, where love is literally in action. So I'm excited to have you here today, Josh.
It's an honor to be here, Megan. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been friends for a while. And when I was thinking about things that I could ask you, one of them was, I guess I don't really know what drew you originally to Love in Action.
Oh, well, that is a fun story. I was a pastor in Spring Lake. Our church had an extra house that it had purchased because of maybe future needs or something. And I got the idea to work with Love in Action on a housing project. It was called Homes of Hope. And a bunch of volunteers gathered around that house. It really ended up being a debt remediation program for people who had children and needed to get out of debt. So you could live in the Home of Hope for a year and maybe another 6 months incrementally until your life kind of became free. And that worked for a whole bunch of people. There's actually still people in town I see that were from that and graduated, quote unquote. I don't think we really had graduations, but it was my onboarding into Love in Action. I was a volunteer. And that's when we were called Love Inc. Eric Morgan was the executive director. I moved to the East Coast for 7 years with my family. I was a pastor out there and went through some stuff at the end of that where I was like, you know what, I think we're moving back to West Michigan. And I walked back into Love and said, would you hire me? This is maybe a little dramatic language. I applied, but I did. I got interviewed. And my friend and yours, Katie Appold, the executive director at the time, said, well, no. Not so much for this position. And she called me 2 weeks later and said, would you run Food for Love? Would you be the donation guy? So I ran Fulton for 3 years. And that's how I came to Love. And I really grew to love it. I really, right in my initial interview, said I probably won't last more than 5 years. I had an idea of a nonprofit I wanted to start that was completely dissimilar, different mission. And I have just loved it. And I've stayed.
What was the mission of the one that you were thinking of?
I wanted to start Steve Thompson from Watermark and I had hosted a 24-hour prayer room. It was right by Jumpin' Java on Washington. We rented a storefront for the February of 2007. And I kind of wanted to take off in that and go in a prayer, spiritual direction, helping people to process spiritually, kind of in between churches. Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't have a defined plan, but that's what I had in my mind when I was in that interview with Katie.
Well,
We've talked about it since.
Yeah,
actually.
Katie and I have had this conversation. I mean, I personally have thanked her. She has just put me in the coolest positions in front of the coolest people and is 100%. I think she's just like a seer. Like, I love to connect this person to this person to this person. It's one of my favorite things, and she is very, very gifted in that space.
I think, we still have a remarkable number of people that she hired on our lead team. She just had an eye for people that were called to this mission and how to put them in a position to succeed. Yeah,
her legacy for sure is really great in this space. Speaking of legacy, so, it's difficult for me to talk about love because it's so broad. I mean, we could spend so long discussing this and that and the other thing. And one of my favorite things has been about like my baby nonprofit is I don't have to vet where money is going because I know that you guys are doing so many things so well. And when I started the B event, I didn't want to try to recreate, a mission for food scarcity because I knew there were multiple nonprofits doing a good job at that, or counseling, right? I wouldn't touch that because I know Mosaic's doing a great job at that. So when you think about love in all of these things, what are some of the areas that you really feel like you are loving on the community and doing things, for the community?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we tend to break our ministry down into programs, right? Food, healthcare, housing. Those are the three largest space takers, more recently Connect 2 with student mentoring. I love all of those. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are missions. I think but you don't love food and you don't love housing. You love the people.
Right.
You love through those resources. And so I think what I love the most is watching transformation, watching people's lives get free of whatever's encumbering them. And so I think housing is a special, unique mission where you see people's lives it's just nothing to see a real 90-degree turn from one direction to another. And you can see what grace can accomplish in somebody's life. And sometimes it takes a few years. It's not a quick turn. A lot of the difficulties in our lives are not quick remediations at present, whether it be mental health or spiritual issues or any number of different things. But we just watch grace work so commonly. So that's a favorite. Food, I think we have so much food in Ottawa County. We are one of the two, we're either second or third every year in Michigan as the most productive state creating our own food. So that sounds funny because when you're looking at Iowa or Nebraska, they're creating food too.
Right.
But they're not creating cherries, cucumbers, potatoes, onions, apples, all the wonderful things. We just have a tremendous amount of fresh produce right here. And to not have enough food it's nonsensical. We have enough food. And being that bridge between what has turned out to be an incredibly generous community and people who need it, you just see so much empowerment in that space.
So I know Love in Action, because I've worked them, does the food truck. Awesome opportunity for local businesses to sponsor one of those. I will tell you, sometimes it can be hard because so many people do jump in and do that. I remember one year I wanted to do it and you guys were totally full, which is an awesome thing, right? I
got that email yesterday.
You
for
did?
2026. So
You're full?
But food trucks are done being sponsored, but I would hasten to say that we have a food fund that runs, its budget's about $300,000 a year.
Yep.
It comes from that. A gift to the food fund actually does far more than food trucks. In fact, the food trucks is a minority of the good it accomplishes. So I would love to see giving continue in that sector.
Right. Well, and I think this too, even if you can't donate, it is such a blessing to go there. I've worked it multiple times too with multiple different people. There was a snow day, I think, once, and it was supposed to be a school group that was coming and you didn't know who was going to show up. And we got kind of the 911 text or call or whatever. And I brought my kids out there. My kids were actually trying to ask if we could take some of the things because there were go-go squeeze and all of that. I think I ripped them out of their bed. They were freezing. And, it is really fantastic food.
Yep.
You might be getting 10 pounds of potatoes or something like that. But I did have people too who were like, I don't need all of that. Leave it for someone else. And I thought that was pretty fantastic. Highly recommend you do it in February so you can just feel the whole thing, or August. But you also are running the grocery store.
The market, the co-op market.
Love it. Yes. And how does that work for somebody who might be listening that needs that help?
Sure. The idea behind the co-op is it's a small group within Love in Action clients. So we'll have up to 10,000 clients in a given year. Our pantries probably serve about 5,800 unique people last year. Many more visits than that, but 5,800 unique people. The co-op is for people who are involved in education and community and mutual support. And so over half of the volunteers at the co-op are the members of the co-op. It's a self-employing kind of nonprofit space where people get to be involved in their own food procurement and their own education, their own support, their own community. So this is the part of Love that provides financial fitness classes. We had 12 people in a nutrition cooking class this week.
The kitchen is amazing there.
Yeah, it's really great. Koster Steigenga did a great job with that. Brock Hessel Sweet. That was a real blessing. And so many people, it's such an understated part of our process to try to provide healthy food.
Yeah.
And that comes with information, not just with the food itself. So how do we create the knowledge level? And you can participate in those classes from outside of the co-op membership, but people join the co-op through that venue, through joining the classes. That's commonly the way it happens.
Well, and I saw some people that were volunteering into that space too to do some of the cooking classes, and I thought that was really neat. But that's always been one of my things is, we need SpaghettiOs and we need this and we need that. And it's so hard for me as someone who really honors, feeding my kids good, clean food. You're going to pay more if you want to get the great tuna fish. You're going to pay more if you want to get the organic, whatever. And I do that. I know that not everybody can and all of those things. But what was remarkable to me about the market is it's like a grocery store.
It is.
It's not like
themselves.
A food pantry. It's
right.
Literally like a baby D&W or Leppinks and we'll say Leppinks because I know they're so charitable and I love
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, last week we went to your grand opening So tell me about that space, because that was amazing.
So literally in my prayer journal, am I allowed to talk about prayer in the podcast?
You're allowed to do
All
whatever
right,
you want.
good, wonderful. We still believe prayer works. I mean, I ask God for things for this community all the time. And January 1st, 2024, I said, I think this is the year that we need space for donations and food. I mean, we are just packed, and the resources have grown. The clients have grown dramatically, the number of clients. So I put that in my journal, and about midsummer, I got an email from one of our board members saying, hey, I don't think you want to see this building, but across the street, that building's for sale. And I said, well, let's just look. And then the inside of it was better than the out, and lots of the stuff was there that the HVAC systems weren't in need of remediation. The roof could be, kind of repaired, I'll say. And so we went through a whole project over the last year and a half. It took more than a year. I always have a year-long list of things I pray for. It took 2 years to get there, and we launched last week, or really December 15th in a soft launch. But we're calling it the Storehouse, food, donations, and it doubles the warehouse space, literally. And I think it's a much safer space. It's more
And it
attractive.
literally has everything. Like, it has a massive freezer that's holding stuff from multiple grocery stores that are donating to it. It's got personal donations from, just people inside of the community. It has furniture. It has electronics. It has medical. Wheelchairs. There was a boot there. There were all kinds of things. And then one of the things I thought was really funny is more than once I have went to Love, purchased something from one of your stores, utilized it for, say, staging in a house or somebody that needed something when I had a tenant or that kind of thing, and then redonated it right back when we were done. And Jody Buttery, who I absolutely love and works with you too, was saying that happens all the time with our medical stuff. Somebody needs crutches and then it comes right back to us. So they'll buy the crutches or they'll borrow them and then they'll bring them right back.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, a year ago tomorrow, my mom passed away, and we borrowed. She had Lou Gehrig's disease, so it was very clear what was going to happen, and we got great support. But Love actually, loaned her multiple walkers and wheelchairs based on different steps she was in the middle of as far as her process. And then we gave them all back to Love. They're all back. So
when we see these things on Grand Haven Helping Hands and all of these different places where somebody is asking for food, I mean, you will come up almost every single time. Are we only, what happens if somebody comes from Muskegon County or comes from outside of our area in general?
Yeah, our food programs serve those who live, work, worship, or go to school in the Tri-Cities. We value the communal connection, not in an exclusive sense, but because there are great nonprofits up north. And you're probably at your best when you move beyond just receiving something and develop a relationship with your own nonprofit connection. So Love Inc. in Muskegon does a great job. MAPS does a great job. Mission for Area People, Muskegon Rescue Mission. There's so many different things like that. We partner in those spaces. On the other hand, there are school kids that are getting bused to Grand Haven schools because they moved in with their grandma in Norton Shores or something, and then they go to White Pines. There are lots of people who are supported by Grand Haven churches through our programs, but they live up north and they go to your church at First Pres or whatever it might be, So we try to travel those organic pathways. That's the way our system works. We're not asking, okay, are you over the line geographically because your residence is over there? The question is, do you work here? Do you go to church here? Are you involved in the support system that is the Tri-Cities? And if not, how do we help you get connected to where you're at? That's a big mission.
So you also are doing financial literacy and helping people in that space. What's that look like?
We've had for quite a while, and we move it forward. It kind of evolves a little bit, but it's called Financial Fitness. We have a great group of volunteers that coach and lead it. We literally just see lives changed. It is very intuitive and in some ways simple, but it helps people track their budgets. And it reminds us that, honestly, tracking little expenditures is a big deal. For all of us, and financial fitness really works, and we continue to be. That's a center point for us. That's what we want to do, is build freedom. I don't think of the opposite of poverty as wealth. I think of the opposite of poverty as freedom. I'm not looking for everybody to be, whatever, expansively wealthy. What we're looking for is people to be able to make healthy choices, to make good decisions for their families, to work at their own security, so to speak, moving into the future. So those classes are oriented that way. And I think they really do see transformation where years later people come back to us and say, man, my whole life is different because of this. I didn't know I could have this much freedom. And there's a common sense of just jubilance, victory, excitedness, like there's a positivity to that whole wing of what we do. It's not what they have to do, it's what they get to do. That's not a forced thing. That's a blessing.
It's the hand up, not the handout piece of it that I like so much, because I found one of the issues that I was seeing with first-time homebuyers when I first got into this space was something that I actually taught in alternative ed, which was budgeting. And if you make XYZ and you work PYQ amount of hours, this is how much you're going to have, and this is likely your tax bracket. And then we would look at what are all your expenses.
Yep.
And I don't see a lot of that financial education. And Melissa Myers has said it too. Stephanie Green has said it. Coming out of, I guess, our high schools or whatever. And so I wonder how much of it is some catastrophic event that takes somebody out, and then how much of it is poor planning or knowledge from the beginning, and how much better we could be doing if we would just give a little more at the beginning.
That'd be a fascinating question. I look back at my own high school education and think, well, I had some of those things. I wasn't asking the question yet, so I didn't retain the information. I had to learn again and again and again, right? Not just in finances, but in any number of different things. I mean, I got great advice from great parents and still made a few mistakes in my life. I'm willing to own that for sure. When I think of financial fitness and how it works, I think it hits people right when they have the question, which makes the information so much more valuable. It's not better information. I think it's the same information that lots of people listening would go, oh, I already knew that. That's great. You knew that. A lot of us don't know it until we break it down. And really, in some ways, that's a matter of speed, of time. So, one of the reasons we're not tracking things the way we used to is because we are moving all the time, very, very, very quickly. And when you look at some of our clients, their lives working really hard, even the health thing that you're bringing up with, Whole Foods or whatever it might be, that's hard. It takes more time to do healthy. And it takes more time to track your finances. And when you can take a segment of your life and just break it down and just diagram it out, just, X's and O's like a football play. I'm a sports guy. I'll go to that for a metaphor. When you can break that down, even for a little bit of your life, you start to think, I can reprogram the rest of my life afterwards without some of the detail level of that work, because now I understand it. I can see it. But a lot of us need to push pause for a brief moment and look at those things for a second.
Yeah, and that's been one of the things. I mean, I'm not in a situation of financial insecurity at this point in my life. I did certainly, I used to work at a restaurant where I couldn't even afford the food half off when I was in graduate school. So I would serve, gorgeous dinners all night long and then go home and eat ramen. But I was talking to a friend the other day about just egg cups, right? Egg cups, if you put cottage cheese in them, there's another layer of protein. Cottage cheese is really cheap. Then spinach, and then this, and then that. And she said, well, I just buy those at Costco. And I am the nut that will look at the price per unit and be like, but you could make, 3 times the amount for what you're paying inside of that space. And then I go back to, but do we have time? And, my husband's a business owner, and we talk about the time value of money and how that all looks in that space. So if you're just getting by and you're just getting by, of course you're going to grab for whatever is the least expensive thing. And then, my best friend's a functional medicine doctor. So then I look at it and go, you're going to pay for it on the front end, or you're going to pay for it on the back end in our healthcare system and all of those things. But you are serving in a healthcare space too. So tell me a little bit about that mission inside of Love.
Sure. It's one of the things that I think this community knows the least about itself. There's probably between 45 and 5,500 people at a given moment that are uninsured. And they're above 18, so they're not under My Child, and they're under 65. So the Medicare, Medicaid system, especially if they're healthy-ish, is not helpful. And
some of them are making too much money to qualify for that, but don't have the $1,500 a month to insure their family of 4 or whatever it is.
Absolutely, yeah. And especially dental care, one year we
Yeah.
actually tracked it, and the average patient came to us because of pain. When I go to my dentist, it's because they call like bill collectors and say, you haven't been here for your 6-month checkup and you're on month 7. What are you doing? This is this whole other world where people are afraid to look. They know they can't pay for it. And so that physical pain becomes a motivator.
Right.
And then all of a sudden they walk into our clinic, and Hans Van Horsen is just amazing. He's a caring guy. He loves people. That's our dental manager right now. Jody Butter, you mentioned her. Shelly Ostrick is our health manager right now. She does a wonderful job. They're coordinating care. And what I love about this is it's almost like we dip our toe in the medical world in a much bigger way than it looks. So the amount of care we're able to offer is maybe like a light urgent care, a doctor's visit, diagnosis. But, the deep labs and that sort of thing, we don't have x-ray equipment, or we're not doing CAT scans or something. But what we do have is the ability to coach people on an industry that has become more and more frightening to the average human. So when somebody's coming to us, they're going, I'm afraid to enter in and to find out what's going on. So literally we say lives saved, because there's actually something that's very, very treatable that somebody is maybe not going to go to a doctor and see unless they have that free healthcare space. And frankly, it saves our community money in ways. When your notes told us, we saved over $100,000 in what would be debt to them because we were able to serve the person without them going to an ER. Just in 1 year, $100,000 off the top. It cost us $16,000 to serve those same clients. So the cost was not prohibitive. It's not $100,000 to $100,000. We're providing $16,000 in remediable costs that didn't get incurred, in debt that didn't happen. And much of that debt may have not been repaid because it's medical debt that would have been very difficult for the patient.
Well, and then, the idea that a crown is $800 or whatever, and then you're going to put that on a credit card and that's at 20% interest. And we won't say her name, but we definitely both know somebody that you caught something catastrophic.
Yep.
And then you called me and said, we need a little bit of help with rent. Can the B do something on that side? And that is a human being that just bleeds light and love and wonderful things into this community. And there's probably a million stories, tens of thousands of stories that are just like that.
That's the real condition, and honestly, a little bit of help early is a lot better. Benjamin Franklin said a stitch in time saves 9. I'm quoting Benjamin Franklin here, but it's still true, right? In all these little ways, we can prevent big difficulties. And those big difficulties spread out, they hurt all of us, not just the patient. We focus on the patient because that's who we're there to care for. But when you're looking at the community beyond, those expenditures and those costs get spread out throughout all of us in a way that's very difficult. So a nonprofit like Love can offset a lot of community harm with personal good in one patient at a time.
Yeah. Is there need there? I know you want more people to come and more people to know about it, but are there enough providers in that space to do the things that you want to do right now with the people that you have?
It comes and goes. Actually, Jody told me recently we like to have Thursday night clinics for off hours patients when they, if they're working during the day, they can get to us. We are looking for some Thursday night docs or nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, care providers. So yeah, we're always looking for dentists. Honestly, always looking for dentists. That's a big need. We keep expanding at the rate of volunteerism, and on a given week right now, it takes 420 plus volunteers to keep us running. Those aren't the food truck people. Those aren't the pantry people. Those are all beyond. So 420 is the number of people who have a literal, it's almost like a tour of duty for 4 hours on a morning to answer phones or to work in the clinic or to work in one of our stores. The stores have 80 volunteers between the two of them. Their profit margin is crazy good because of that.
Yeah, they're all ingrained. It's like this big web of people that come together to do. When I was there the other day, and they were talking about, this is all our kids' food basket or backpack blessings.
Blessings, yes.
And I'm like thinking, why did I think that this just happened like at my church and this church? And then why didn't I ever think about where the food came from in order to have the people pack to do this stuff? And then some people are going up to kids' food basket and how these nonprofits work together to make sure that whoever has a direct need, that's been one of the things that's been really neat to watch. And one of the biggest blessings, being a part of Blue West is we give to so many nonprofits that then I get to know the executive directors. And, I tell everybody, I'll get a seat out for you at a table in any one of these rooms. It's been amazing to watch I started going, obviously because Katie's my dear friend, like years and years ago, but to watch the expansion of the programs and how there were so many people in that room at your gala this year.
Yeah.
Was
I
it
think
double?
we had to turn people away.
Did you?
Yeah. We actually filled up the space completely. I want to make sure, I can't remember for sure, but I think we did actually in the end have not enough seats.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And we had some people show up the night of, that didn't have tickets. So that always kind of happens. Usually it's okay. This year it was kind of like, we don't know if we have a dinner for you, which was funny. It's a great problem to have. Yeah.
That's
it was
amazing.
by far our most successful fundraising event. And Love doesn't like to focus on fundraising events. We like to focus on the client. So,
Right.
People are giving all the time, every month. I mean, 97 plus, usually more like 99 plus % of the funding for Love comes from the Tri-Cities. It's just local. It's people here.
So when you say that, do you mean it's mostly like government sponsor? I think people are always wondering, like, where does all this money come from? How can you do what you just did with the warehouse? Is it mostly individual and family and business donors?
Absolutely. In fact, the Storehouse, the new warehouse that we just launched, which is so exciting.
Which is nothing like a warehouse. I just want to say that. Like, I mean, if you
Thank
take a
you for
tour of the
saying that.
thing,
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, I think we're imagining this thing that's like a manufacturing facility, and it doesn't feel that way at all. It feels very organized and warm, and there's office space in there, and there's a small market space in there.
Well, just to save my marriage, because my wife runs a manufacturing factory, I will tell you that she thinks her factory is beautiful too. But,
I love her, so
yes,
I'm not
yeah.
saying anything bad about that. But it's not like I don't know. We're not like pulling things off a line, right?
No,
That's all.
that's absolutely true. It's not an assembly line. It's not a manufacturing space. It is a storage, but a processing space, and really distribution is probably your best word, right?
Yes.
Comes in, goes out. Yeah, we had a question back there.
I think that the space of like how did all of that come to be with the money,
Oh, right,
right?
the funding. It was all local. There was a community impact grant from the foundation for $125,000. That wasn't even the biggest gift.
Which is also mostly local giving through.
Yeah, that's local giving.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Hadley and Hannah were there for the day
Amazing.
or Meg Bellman, I think, was
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Amazing humans.
So yeah, it was a great morning to kind of show off the space, but to show off what everybody has done, contributing their time. Brock Hessel Suite, this is like, I don't know, the 9th or 10th
He's such a
building
good
project that he's volunteered his architectural skills for. Jenny Sutherland, the beauty of that building. I don't pick the colors, and we don't trust our board doesn't, pick the colors, so to speak. So yeah, all of it came from local. There were literally no government grants. There was a Spectrum Charter 5000. The Zondervan Foundation might not be local, but that's still the PJ Zondervan Grand Rapids Publishing House.
Yeah.
That his foundation paid for the racking in the warehouse. But there were really, beautiful donors just giving. And I could name 3 of them off the top of my head. I saw volunteering the week before, and they were there that morning, or they work on a team or whatever it might be. So yeah, these are people who are giving, and they're watching what they're giving to, and they're watching without most of our staff ever knowing it. We don't talk about our donors much.
Right.
And they can see us, and they can see me and ask the questions they need to. So yeah, over $1 million in funding in really pretty short order, all coming from local.
Yeah, and that I will say that's one of the coolest things. If I give to something that's far away, I don't get to see the direct impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always felt like with Love, I get to see the direct impact.
Yeah, it's close.
It is. It's really close. And I like to be a quiet giver.
Mm-hmm.
I like to invite people into this space. So I'll buy the table, or I'll, put my name on the park bench or whatever, just to kind of be like, yeah, you should too, right? Like, this doesn't only have to be people who are over 70 years old that are in, like, we all have an opportunity to give what we can.
Yeah.
But I think that has been one of the coolest things to watch. Maybe people who have time or talent or treasure giving different things in different ways.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing right now?
Oh, homelessness. I mean, housing is the challenge. You're a realtor, right? You know this from the other end.
And we've had these conversations.
There's no question. The big gap right now is just we don't have enough houses. It's a matter of math. You can look. The number of people who live in this county plus the counties, whether it's Allegan, Muskegon, Kent, wherever you want to look, those counties are all underwater, and the jobs are here. So people are coming to get jobs, and our economy relies on that. Every year, Dr. Isley from Grand Valley comes to town. He'll come next month, and he tells us 42% of our economy is manufacturing. And so housing for that population of people who are keeping us running with our jobs, that's so crucial. So yeah, housing needs are huge. Our shelters are going strong. There's a lot of, we used to see a person maybe every 3 days. In the early days I was at Love in like 2015, 16, that was experiencing homelessness. We are daily, and many of the needs are not easily solved. They're not quick. The shelters sit north and south of us, the emergency shelters. So Muskegon Rescue Mission, Gateway Rescue Mission to the south. Obviously, Grand Rapids has that. Our community doesn't have an emergency shelter. We have transitional housing, long-term, 8 to 12 months type of housing. But we're not at this point allowed in this community to have emergency housing. Maybe that'll change in the future. We'll see. I think there's a lot of conversations about it right now, but.
Yeah, I think there should be a lot of conversations about what is actually affordable. And I think that people need to get it out of their head that we're a tourist town, because we're not. We're a manufacturing town.
Yeah, and our economy relies on probably both, but that manufacturing it's a steady, helpful way to think about our community shape. And Miller Knoll, two of the bigger companies, Ramy, Jost, so many make a difference. And many of them are really philanthropic, by the way. They see the value in this, and I'm thankful for that. Their ownership groups. Love and Ramy have had a great partnership for years. Shape has been very supportive. So lots of good.
I love them. I think that we could probably go in a whole nother and get like 5 other people in here to talk about affordable housing, because it certainly is a very, very big passion project. And while I've been able to do some small things, I would love to be involved in doing even bigger things. It's just it's an incredibly complex problem.
Yep.
And I think it's going to take local municipalities and even the state to really dig into all of that. Anything that you want to say that you haven't said that's important about love, or that people should know about love?
Well, we have 5 values that we talk about. The middle one is generosity, faith, service, generosity, grace, and partnership. Partnership is the one that we invite people to be a part of the process. So everybody needs to be a part of the success. I just want to say generosity. The happiest people I know are generous people. And we want to think that love changes people's hearts by helping them to see the power of their generosity and to see the blessing that comes to them. It's not quantifiable, it's not transactional, but there is a beauty to what happens inside of us when we give of ourselves, whether it's time or a resource. And that's not a donation plug. I'm not trying to fundraise here, but I do think it's one of the things that contributes to human flourishing in a way we can't quantify. But I look at some of the biggest donors we have, and some of the people, they might not write the biggest checks because they don't have that money, but they're giving proportionately. I think they look like the happiest people I know. I just don't know how to say that enough. So when we're doing financial fitness, one of the things we're saying is, by the way, giving somewhere, not necessarily to Love, to your church, to your other nonprofit, being involved in helping other people succeed changes you in a very positive way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think that, when I lost my best friend, Elizabeth, one of my best friends, one of the places that I found healing was in going out and serving other people, because I could either sit inward in my grief, which was not progressive, or I could go out and be Christ's hands to serve and do what I could for who I could that was still here, right? There was nothing I could do to change her circumstance, but I could do things to change other circumstances and help and give and all of that. So I couldn't, like, the idea of giver's gain. And I always am saying, when somebody's like, well, they don't refer business to me, or they do this, or they don't do that. And I'm like, how much business have you referred to them? How much have you leaned into them? If you're looking for a reciprocal relationship, give first and see how that changes your heart and what that all feels like.
And then don't keep score quickly. Watch
or
the good someday happen, and maybe someday happen in a room you're not in a space you're not going to benefit from.
Right.
I think that's how God made us. I think, love was started by the churches. We're still the church put to work in the Tri-Cities, and that's one of my favorite lines about us. And I still think this is just the way God made humans. We have to be part of each other's good.
Yeah, I do too. I also want to just say, I have heard this once and only one time in all the time that I have been involved, which I think has got to be, I don't even know it. I mean, it's over 10 years, maybe 15, that someone thought that they couldn't come to love because they were not a Christian.
Oh, no.
No.
I am a Christian, and I am motivated by my faith, and our lead team still very much a Christian organization, but we serve anybody. We love people, and we think God loves people. So we see people regularly that come from all sorts of walks of life. We're interested in caring for them. And frankly, when it comes to homelessness or food insecurity, we're talking about people. The first question needs to be, how do we get you out of the cold? How do we get you to have food?
Right.
Every now and then I'm asked, could you graduate from Hope House if you're not a Christian? And the answer is absolutely yes.
It was about Hope House, and my mom used to volunteer there, and it was it was a moment for me because I just thought, this person thinks that unless they are a Christ follower, they can't show up and get help from Christ followers. And it was just like, that's not Jesus. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to say it. One of the things I would say about that is I think Christianity is invitational.
100%.
So when it's forced on people in a transactional format, it stops being Christian. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't look like the invitation of a loving God saying, hey, I'm here to help you and to bless you. You need to accept my love. You need to accept what I've done for you. Sure, those are things that are an invitation. Somehow we've turned that into you have to. And I just don't think that comes out with his tone. And if you lose his tone, I don't think you're not representing him correctly anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Love your brother as yourself, right?
Yeah.
And all the rest of it, I think we're making it too hard. So I want to say thank you to you. And I appreciate your time and your being here and what you do in the community and our friendship.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it very much as well.
And I want to say to our listeners today, please, if you have time or talent or treasure, or you think that there's some skill set that might be beneficial to love, give them a call and just say, I have this thing that I'm really good at, and I am wondering if you might have a use for me, or I've got some extra money and I'm wondering where you would put it if I were to give it to you. I promise you that there are probably 10 other things, maybe more, that Love is doing inside of our community right now that we did not discuss today. So in this 2026 and in the idea of positivity in practice, I just ask that we all lean in and educate ourselves on where we can be of service to others. I'm Meg Heritage. This was Positivity in Practice. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have liked this podcast, please like and subscribe. We just made it to over 1,000 subscribers, which is really exciting. Thank you to Rediscover, who helped us to do that. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.